your issue with my opinion on the age of consent, age of marriage?
Because I feel like age of consent should just be an accepted number, and I think the accepted one is 18. Like, regardless of where you talk about in the world, I feel like once you start talking about someone under 18, you're basically just talking like a predator. Like, I feel like 18 is a pretty well-established number for most sensible people. At 18, you're going to college, you're living your own life now, you're outside of your family nest. Anything under that, you're still a kid.
Okay. It's not 18 in most of the United States where we both live, right?
Yeah, but that refers to like Romeo and Juliet laws, where if you're like 19 and with a 16-year-old, it's not technically illegal, but you're not a 19-year-old, right? So why would you be arguing for like a 16?
Well, first off, I'm not arguing to lower the age of consent. I don't believe in the age of consent. We can get there. I want to establish some terms first.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's not even just with Romeo and Juliet laws. There's a lot of states where it's 16 regardless of Romeo and Juliet. And then you go to Europe, most countries are 16. Japan, I think they just changed it. It was like 13 or 14.
Hey guys, and in case you were wondering, yes, this is the Sneako and Moist Critical debate, if you can even call it that. We are going to review it, and I'm going to say a few things and yada yada, crack some jokes. To be honest, it's going to be me mainly just banging my head against the wall, so it's going to be a painful ride. I first want to bring up the Romeo and Juliet laws that are prominent within America and within the state of Illinois. I will have a website directed into the description so you could read up on that more. I'll give a brief demonstration, though, that, say, a 14-year-old and an 18-year-old get together, there can be some legal leeway with that within the court. Not always going to be, 100%, yeah, they're scot-free, but there is going to be a little bit lighter sentencing, I'd imagine, or just they're free, whatever. You look at the website and you see. Honestly, I don't see why it matters because I'm not here trying to fuck with minors. And say if a 19 and 15-year-old went ahead and got together and started doing sexual acts, then they would be legally prosecuted. So that's something to keep in mind. I also want to bring up the comparing of different countries is kind of a moot point because in the end, it's different cultures, different upbringings within those countries. Not saying that it's good, it's okay for them to have younger age of consent. Not saying that at all. I enjoy the American age of consent laws. 18, wonderful age, but it's just a total void of nothingness when talking about it. It's a nothing sandwich, really. I mean, how else can I describe it? You're wasting your breath.
Like when in Rome, they're in Brazil, so they might as well sleep with a 14-year-old, right? Or across the world, 18. I want to see, like, why do you think 18 is the age of consent?
Because that right now is the one that makes the most sense. I guess to piggyback off what you're saying, so if you're traveling right now, if you go to Europe, are you going to be comfortable like hooking up with a 16-year-old? Like just because it's legal there, would that make you feel comfortable?
No, I don't hook up anymore. I'm not
saying that you do, but I'm saying if you were, single and looking for someone, would you feel comfortable with it being a 16-year-old if it's in Europe versus US?
I wouldn't do that. Like I would not have sex before. I think sex like out of wedlock altogether is something that we should not encourage anymore. And having the age.
So I just want to go ahead and put in the American reason as to why 18 is typically the age of consent. It is a way to protect minors from sexual abuse and from consequences of early sexual activity on their rights and development. So it is a way to keep young children protected from consequences of childbirth or people trying to use them. It's a pretty simple point to make, but I guess Moist didn't have that material to count on. I don't know. I also want you guys to pay attention to how Sneako talks. He goes ahead and says a lot of things in his belief. Not belief, but more of, oh, I wouldn't do that. No, personally, I wouldn't do it. But if someone else were to do it, I wouldn't bat an eye, is basically what he's saying. And he's trying to kind of sweep that under the rug, and it's working in his favor for most of this video. So, wonderful.
Just something that we shouldn't be doing. So no, I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that.
Okay, so then instead of let's take it away from like premarital sex. would you feel comfortable marrying a 16-year-old? Like, would you meet a 16-year-old with romantic intent if you're in Europe and maybe marry a 16-year-old?
I
Nothing
wouldn't.
sexual.
I probably wouldn't personally, because I don't think that I'd be on the same mental playing field. I like to have intellectual conversations. I like to be with women that are around my same age, because then I can have conversations. I like to relate to them. I think there'd be too much of a gap. But other people, like, if they're able to get along, then I don't see why that's so much of a problem.
But why don't you see that as a problem? So for you, you're recognizing like this person's much younger than me. It is a kid. Like you are talking to.
Okay, so let's define these terms.
Let's
In
high school.
Before even.
Sneako, the reason why you prefer older people and to have intellectual conversations with them because they're on the same level with you, because they're in the same development with you. They're more developed. You see the pattern here? That children aren't developed. So they wouldn't have these deep conversations with you because they don't know shit. They don't. That's why they're still in school. I mean, bloody hell. And I love how Sneako's tiptoeing around it, going like, I wouldn't, but if someone could, all the power to them. And it's just like, no. And the thing is, Moist Critical isn't asking the right questions in order to make Sneako pause and go like, that sounds bad. And the reason why Sneako is tiptoeing around this is because Moist Critical isn't reading the fine print. I mean, he should be talking to Sneako with these information like it's a fucking warning label on a body wash. I mean, this is the reason, like, Sneako is like number one reason of why we have fucking warnings on everything.
What is a child?
I would use the age of consent. Under 18 would be a kid in my eyes.
So a 17-year-old who's 364 days, that's a kid?
Yep, I'm gonna use very hard set terms. If it is under 18, even if it's 17, 364, that's still a kid.
That's a kid. Okay, now
I think it's important to have these hard lines in the sand where it doesn't have this kind of wiggle room.
Okay, why does that define kid?
So I just wanted to state this really quickly. Children are defined as adolescents under the age of 18, unless, of course, depending or applicable to different laws, different countries, which is why this is such a deaf tone, because they're trying to bring in different laws, different religions, which religion has nothing to do with laws. Religion shouldn't have any holding on laws because, well, we saw how that was back then. And what defines a child under the age of 18 is a child with fewer less rights, but also less responsibilities, because of course there's a child, and biology and law are two different things and are not going to be the same. Just because you mentally, let's say 15-year-old, you're mentally more advanced than others, does not make it okay for you to go ahead and go smoke weed. No.
Earlier, at 18, at that point, you're going out of high school, you're going to college, you're living on your own, you're no longer, a child under your parents' roof, for the most part, extenuating circumstances, of course, but at that age, you are starting to become independent. You are no longer just in your parents' household a kid. You are now going off into the world on your own.
You do admit that varies for most people, right? A lot of people don't move out of their parents' homes until they're 25, 26, 27. A lot of people don't.
There's nothing wrong with that.
A lot of people graduate high school 16. A lot of people graduate.
That's what he was saying, dumbass. Oh my god. He just said extenuating circumstances. There can be some things that could be different. Like, you're not always going to be able to just move out at 18. You're not just always going to be out of high school at 18. It's... What a silly little goober.
Establishment right there. Anything under 18 would classify as a kid. I think that's important.
Okay, but you're getting that from what? From personal experience, from the government, from the law? Because that's legally in America, that's when you become an adult, correct?
Yeah, legally.
So you're following the government's definition of an adult.
I think there needs to be a definition, and that one's been around for a long time, and I think that's the one most people accept as the closest to, this is when you become an adult.
It actually hasn't, right? 200 years ago in the 1800s in America, the age of marriage...
Yeah, we can't live like that. We're so much more advanced than that. Why would we play by those rules? Because at that point, are you going to start arguing that we should be able to start wedding 12-year-olds? Like, is 12 too young?
That's not the point. I'm saying you're
Yes, Sneako, that was back then when we were dumbasses. We literally hung women from trees because we thought they were witches. I mean, how more stupid can you get? Oh, it's a witch, it's a witch. I mean, and the reason why it's 18 is because that's the law. That's what it is. You can't fight that or else you go in jail, dummy. Like, what do you...
reasons to say that. They graduated college. They don't leave the house until this age. Their brains don't develop until they're 25. Your frontal cortex is not fully developed until you're 25 years old. A lot of people aren't making serious money. They're not able to live independently. A lot of things that you could use to classify an adult don't happen for the new age American until 25 years old. So if Kamala Harris raised it to 25, would you then say that that's the new age? Would you agree with that?
I think that'd be totally understandable. Like, I
Right.
think
So
that's
does
fine.
that? So
Like,
then does
if
that?
Oh my god. So this is where Moist Critical kind of loses his mojo. So let me just blatantly just say why 18 is the age of adulthood. It's because that's when we define you are responsible of your own actions, your own affairs. You are responsible for you. For you. So what Sneako is saying is, oh, why not just raise it to 25 so then we could be treated like little kids until 25 because our brains isn't developed enough. We are developed enough to get a job, get cars, and all that stuff. Just because we can't get it out of our parents' house doesn't mean we can't do things to provide for ourselves still.
Countries across the world.
Do you see why this is like a weird take to have though? Like I don't think you're coming at this from a place of you wanting to fuck a 15-year-old, are you? Like to go back to that question, is 12 too young? Do you think 12 is too young?
I think 12 is too young for me. Yes.
Well, for you, do you think 12 is too young in general? I feel like that should be an easy answer.
12 is too young in general, correct? Because,
Okay.
yes.
And I don't
But
think you're coming at this from that
define,
angle.
but what you're saying, your definition of adult is not even the actual definition. Do you know what the definition of child is? Like anybody watching this can Google it. You can Google.
Okay, let me just define childhood and all that stuff because there's 3 stages in particular. Early childhood, that's from birth to age of 5. Middle childhood, age 6 to 12. And adolescence, age 13 to 18 until you're an adult. That's my Google search for you. Jesus.
The definition of child is somebody who has not reached puberty yet. That's the definition.
Yeah, and then you get into like a beebophile or whatever as opposed to pedophile, and those are all.
I don't know. I have no idea what those terms are. I don't know what that is.
What the fuck? Okay. So, Sneako, you left out the legal age of adulthood as well within laws. And Charlie just bringing up different versions of pedophiles, which I don't even know why we have different definitions of pedophiles. It's really stupid to me. They're just fucking pedophiles. I mean, it's nasty either way.
When you're arguing for marriage, do you want it to drop? Like, okay, 16.
When did I say? Just because I don't believe in the age of consent does not mean that I want it to drop. Like, see, that's where like the internet can go apply that. Just because I'm saying,
well, no,
because you're saying the definition of an adult is 18. I'm saying that's an arbitrary number and that makes no sense. We should encourage marriage when people reach maturity. That makes much more logical sense.
That's even more vague though. Like,
okay, so maturity does not equate to age. You can be a mature child, still, they're a child. Just because they have more experience, unfortunately, in some bad cases, doesn't mean that they're in adulthood now. Let's go ahead and put a ring on that bitch. No, that's not how it works. There's laws to protect them for that reason. I mean, you can't just go ahead and go around looking at kids going like, you know what? That one right there, that one looks mature enough for me. I'm gonna go ahead and marry that bitch. Ugh. No, that's not how it works. Nasty, bro. What kind of fucking laws is that? It's not even a reason. It's not even, I don't even understand it. It's not a well put together idea. Get help.
Adulthood is not something that you can set in stone because it's different for the entire world. Right? I moved out when I was 14. A lot of people don't move out until they're 25. I went through puberty when I was 17. A lot of people went through puberty when they were 13, 14, 15. It changes for everybody. So for you to say that this is the set in stone age and say you're a pedophile if it's under 18, and then if you're over 18, you're fine. Well, then that's a weird line that doesn't make sense. So you're going to say this person is a terrible person if they're 17 years old, 364 days, and right after that, they're good to go. Well, it changes for everybody. So we have to have something, a definition. We have to be realistic with everybody. Well, we don't. But you're saying but that's not even the case in the country we live in.
Why argue against it? If you don't want the age of consent to be lowered, why are you making arguments that the same people who do make? Right now, what you're saying is kind of what NAMBLA used to say, if you're familiar with NAMBLA.
I have no idea what this is.
NAMBLA was the North American Man-Boy Lover Association. They
right,
were
because these people want to have sex to take advantage, and they don't abide by the rules of marriage. They don't have any sort of morality. They just want to have. I'm arguing for this because I believe in marriage. Sex should only be within wedlock. That's why I'm talking about this.
Why?
When Sneako says, "Oh, they can marry then have sexual intercourse," what? So you're fine with children having sexual intercourse after they get married? That's terrible. That's awful. That's why 18 is there. Oh my God. And to even push this idea of going ahead and getting married at an earlier age just because of maturity, it's pointless. Why can't you just go for people around your age? I would say wait, but then that'd be grooming, dumbasses. I mean, they don't even mention grooming. They don't, because a lot of it sounds like grooming. Just wait for them to get legal, and it's just like, okay, then you're a groomer. I mean, just be a normal human being and socialize with the same maturity level that you're at with other people. Okay, no, never mind. That the same age range as people that are around you, because they'll have most likely the same level of experience as you. Okay, that sounds better. Oh God.
They have sex all the time, and they have a different sort of mindset. Right here in the Middle East, I'm in the Middle East right now. They want to get married and then have sex. So people, just because I'm saying this does not mean automatically lower. No. That's not the case at all. I want to ask you then, because you're insinuating that it sounds creepy and that I sound like a pedophile. What's the definition of pedophile?
Okay, definition of pedophilia. Let's go. It's a disorder in which adults prefer children sexually or intimately. Do I have to say it any other way? They love children. It's wrong. And he's saying, no, not automatically lower. Then why are you fighting for it? Why are you trying to fight for younger people to get married faster? I mean, this just causes a whole bunch of more issues. Even if you're saying two children getting together, I'm way too tired, man. This is too much for me. This is so fucked up. Because they are children, they don't have the experience. They don't have the mental stability to be able to do these things by themselves with each other, okay? And let alone sex. I mean, you keep on bringing up sex, and this is going to be prevalent, unfortunately. Like, I had to learn nepophilia. I didn't want to learn that. Fuck you, Sneako. Fuck you.
More vague though, but also you directly.
It's vague because it's different for everybody.
When someone can legally drive, they should be able to legally marry. You did say that to me.
Right. When somebody is legally ready to drive, the same thing. I think adults should drive cars. That's why I told you that.
This is just so stupid. Adults, once you can drive cars, boom, you're an adult. No, learning to drive is a privilege. That doesn't mean you're an adult, right? So going ahead and saying that, and even if so, you're trying to say that, you have to work up to driving, okay? It doesn't mean that once you get your driver's license, you're an adult now. Woo 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 hoo. No, it's a progress to adulthood. It is milestones for sure. It shows maturity, but that does not equate to adulthood. No.
That's why I told you that.
Yeah, but 15 and 16-year-olds can drive cars. You said when someone can legally drive...
Across the world, 15 and 16-year-olds can have sex too. I think that people should not operate... But see, You keep thinking that I'm saying this because I want the age to be lowered. That's not what I'm talking about at all.
That's what it comes across as, though. When you
maybe
say that
with
if
the
you
internet
are,
brain, because people in the West, they want to have sex all the time and they have a different sort of mindset. Right here in the Middle East, I'm in the Middle East right now.
That is literally what Sneako is wanting. He wants age of consent to be lowered because how else are you going to get married and then have sex right away? Because that's what he's describing it as. Unless you get married to a child and then groom the child by going ahead and waiting to have sex, because that's still bad. That is grooming, good sir. Bad, Sneako, bad.
Okay with it. If the parents are okay with it, if nobody's being harmed, if it's going to be okay, if they're both abiding by the rules and they're not hurting each other, why not?
but they're still like they're at best a sophomore in high school. They can't consent to something like that. Like, do you think a
Okay, so now it's
16-year-old can
sophomore in
consent to
high
something
school
like that?
versus senior in high school. What's the difference? Like, what's the difference
I'm just saying,
maturity-wise?
like, I'm giving you a perspective on where that age would be in life. Like, they can't consent to something like that.
That's
do you
not. That's
think differently,
probably
I guess?
you're bringing up an outlier. That's probably not going to happen as much. I'm saying that these are arbitrary reasons to say like a sophomore versus a senior in high school. How much different were you really maturity wise? It wasn't that much of a difference. The reason that you keep saying 18 is because in California, where they post Hollywood movies, it's 18. And so everybody across the world, this is the standard that we believe in. This is the correct age, exactly on the dot. And if it's anything under that, are you going to say here that if a 21-year-old got married to a 17-year-old who was almost 18, is that 21-year-old a pedophile?
I would say that is a morally bad thing to do for sure.
Not
You
morally
could just
bad. Not
leave it.
morally bad. Is that?
I wouldn't call it. No, I wouldn't call them a pedophile.
So
I
when
would
does
call
somebody?
that
So when does
someone
somebody
that has
become
made
when does somebody become a pedophile?
I would say when you have this position, you are.
You're
in
not
your
answering the
20s,
question.
And you are. I'm explaining it.
Okay.
When you are in your 20s and you start preying upon someone who is still a child, a 15, 16, 14, anything under 18, a 21 and a 17-year-old.
But you still haven't specifically defined what a child is.
I did. In
So
my,
then why?
to me,
Okay, there you go. So if pedophile is love of children, and your definition of adult starts at 18, if the 21-year-old marries a 17-year-old who's turning 18 tomorrow, he is a pedophile based off your definition.
It's as simple as saying it's illegal, okay? You can't marry a 17-year-old. It is considered pedophilia, yes, because they are still a child. Even so, a teenager, if you want to even say that. They're in their adolescence.
There'd be no reason why that's wrong. Can I ask you, Moise, do you think that incest is wrong?
Yes.
Why is incest wrong?
There is under no circumstances any excuse for anyone of the same bloodline to be romantic like that. By no means at all.
Why?
I really think it should be pretty obvious why.
I don't know why. I'm asking you.
Even I know where you're going with this because I've heard this argument from another streamer before about like the ethics of incest. If they don't have a kid and thus don't pass down like bad genes that lead to a bad child. I've heard this before.
But so I want to hear your answer, because are we going with legal or are we going to follow some sort of morality, some sort of consistent morality?
How did we even get to incest? We were talking about underage. Sneako does this a lot, by the way. He brings up other topics to kind of scramble people's brains about topics. It's a smart tactic, I'm not gonna lie. It's painful for me, but incest, why is it wrong? Because it's abuse to the family dynamic. I mean, even if you're not procreating, it's wrong. It's so nasty. It's like, what do I need to say? It's using your family trust in order to get sexual advantage within your own family. I mean, I just don't know what else to say. It's a morally disgusting thing. It is not right, nowhere near right. Hell, man. Also, may I state, it is illegal. So, Sneako, go ahead and try doing that, and let's see you go in jail, okay? I'd love it. Actually, I want it because I don't want anyone being abused like that. I take it back. I'm sorry.
I don't have.
Okay, so
other
if the morality
like
comes
that.
from the world around you, then by your logic, if you lived in America in the 1800s where the age of 10 was okay, and where the age of 7 was okay in England just 200 years ago, if you followed the world around you, that would be okay. That was fine.
And it's not now because we've evolved past then. Like
Right.
we are significantly further along to recognize this was a bad thing. People evolve. Like people like here we'll go even stupider with this.
So your morality,
Like,
is ever changing. It changes with
yes,
people.
morality is changing. Like you are not born and then stay the same the entire time. As you take in more information, as you grow, so does your understanding of the world. That's how it should be.
Let's see where this goes.
Change,
let's see where this
change.
Okay, let's say we.
Once again, Sneako's bringing up past history. I mean, he's making me feel like a caveman right now. I feel fucking brain dead. I feel like I'm gonna pound my head against a fucking boulder. I'd rather do that than listen to this shit at the moment. I'm not gonna lie. And then he keeps on bringing up this. I'm gonna go to the point where Moist kind of does the big oopsies. So, yeah.
Do you believe that somebody can go through hormone therapy? Can they change their gender if they're a child?
I think that's totally fine as long as everyone is consenting, as you agree with.
Okay, so as long as everyone...
If your parents are okay with it and you are okay with it, I think that's totally a familial decision to make, yeah.
Okay, so a child can cut their penis off and take hormone blockers and change their biology forever, but they can't get married? I want to hear a clear answer that makes sense. Because you said it's because you're relying on other people. But I've established that a trans person is relying on the pharmacist, is relying on the therapy.
I didn't say that. I didn't say relying. I said you are making a personal decision yourself. You are making a decision for you. When you are making a decision about marriage, you're bringing someone else in that is now not just you.
Just because you're bringing someone else in does not change the fact that it's a personal decision. Marriage is it's consent. It is deciding yes, regardless of the other person. But it's still a personal decision.
Can't possibly wrap their head around this adult that has been preying on them. Like, I don't know why you can't see that. A 16-year-old can't be making this decision on this adult who is convincing them that I am the right choice for you for life.
Right. But a 9-year-old boy can go into a clinic and decide that doctor, that 40-year-old doctor, can cut my penis off?
If that's a decision he and his family wants to make, that doesn't bother me.
Okay.
Absolutely does not.
Okay.
So yeah, this is Moist Critical's little oopsies. I'm gonna state what he says later on after this whole debate's over, and he does a live stream with his chat. As he meant, as in a sense that they can change their gender, as in pronouns, not actually snipping it off just yet, and saying that they need the education first and therapy, and that will in itself take a few years in order to, one, learn and process, as well as they need to legally wait until 18, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so I just looked it up to go ahead. In America, it is 18 years old to do plastic surgery, which also involves trans surgery, of course. So there's that.
When you can legally drive, you should be able to legally marry.
Right.
We don't have to talk about sex. Do you think it's okay to be marrying a 15 or 16-year-old? Probably not, right? Like, I would imagine probably not.
It depends. So this is where the age of consent becomes arbitrary. I don't even believe like that. Consent is a weird thing to even speak about, but it should be the father. Right? If I want to marry a girl, I shouldn't even just get consent from her. I should get consent from her parents. She should want to say yes. Her parents should want to say yes. That's consent from the family, and then you get married. That's the Islamic way. That's the only way that makes sense. This American way of this girl wants to have sex now, she gave consent, and then you get all these false allegations like, oh, she was drunk, oh, she took it back, oh, she retracted consent. All this stuff, like there's not even a specific way that we can define consent. What is consent? Some people say it's yes. Some people say it's like nonverbal communication. Some people say that it doesn't count because she was under the influence or she was intimidated. Even this is an arbitrary, is a weird way to define when you're allowed to be in a relationship with somebody.
Sneako, if you're having that much trouble trying to figure out what consent is, ask the woman that you're fucking, that you're wanting to fuck, do you want to have sex? Yes or no? No ifs or buts. Yes or no? It's that simple. It really is. Otherwise, I mean, just don't have fucking sex, dumbass. I mean, you already don't do that because you already got cocked. I'm not going to bring that up again because that's just an old hanging fruit. Fuck you. Oh.
Because they want us to believe age of consent.
Well, no,
even a girl who's 18, she's not even really ready to make that decision. Girls who are 18 and vote, they all vote for Joe Biden because they believe Trump's racist, and then they all regret it 4 years later because they get brainwashed and manipulated quickly. Even an 18-year-old woman, she's not even capable, in my opinion, And the Islamic, or being able to consent like that, jump into that, because it should be the father. The father is going to be smarter at guiding her to the right man. Women are emotional thinkers. They're going to see the bad boy with the motorcycle jacket, the guy beating up people, the drug dealer, the big tough alpha guy who's just going to fuck them and dump them. They're attracted to them. If we follow the age of consent, they're going to get sent to the fuck boy who's fucking all the girls and never wants to marry them. We shouldn't. We should not even have these people.
Have no like authority of.
Sneako being sexist. Shocking. I mean, his whole thing just kind of falls apart after that. It's just so stupid. So younger men can make those decisions, but women can't, right? Yeah, that makes sense. I'm gonna watch one final little clip of this, and then I think I'm gonna end it. I don't even know what to say to this part. I mean, what? He's a sexist pig? I mean, women can make their decisions at 18. That's the legal age of adulthood. That's when you're responsible of yourself and your decisions.
Completely no. Does he agree with my views completely no? We're different religions. This person is the future president of America because white people are being decimated right now. All of Europe is being completely diluted very quickly. In America, the immigrants are flooding through. Like there's no sense of a white identity anymore. You're white. You're not. Are you white?
Yeah.
You're not even allowed to say white power. Isn't that crazy?
I would never want to.
Isn't that wild? Black people get a movie called.
No, it's not wild.
You know what black people get? Wakanda forever. Black lives matter. Black power. Black pride. They are allowed to say that. They brainwash white people to be ashamed. Chris Tyson is so ashamed of being a white person who has so much privilege, he chops his penis off to become a minority. I'm telling you, the reason that people like Nick Fuentes get called a hateful person all the time is because people, the atheists, we're supposed to believe that. If you listen to his rhetoric, he's a pure Catholic. You know what Catholics believe? Love everybody. Love speech. Where'd I get that idea? At Ye 24, working with Nick and Ye. Love speech. That's a Christian belief. Say white power. Say white. It's okay to be white. It's okay to be white, Moise.
That was a shocking segment there. I feel like that just contradicts what you claim. Like
saying white power?
Well, yeah, that for one, and B.
Well, why is it hateful to say white? Why is it hateful to say white power?
What do you mean? We don't even have to go down. This is just
simple question. You can say black power. Wakanda forever.
White power has connotations in history where people would be legitimately racist and kill people of color.
Why would he want to support something that involves with the KKK? I mean, Sneako has to be like joking at this point. He has to be trying to get Moist like canceled or some shit. I mean, I just don't understand his little brain. I don't think I could understand most things at this moment. I'm so fucking tired. I think that's gonna be it. I think I'm gonna go to sleep and think about my white privilege and cry myself to sleep. Okay, guys? I hate being white. All right. Love you guys. Bye-bye.